Welcome into Titans Today. Tom Downey here. Whoever comments the most, individual comments on today's show will get a shout out on a future one. We'll give you guys a few days to actually get everyone's comments in. We know not everyone watches in the first 12 hours, 24 hours, or whatever. So whoever comments the most on today's show will get that shout out. So flood the comments section for me in today's video. We begin with some more Titans rumors, led by the idea of signing Justin Simmons. Yeah, back at this one again here. Add Bleacher Report to the list of outlets that think it makes sense for Tennessee to pursue that potential route for Simmons. Here's what they wrote. The Titans were connected to Simmons earlier in the offseason, and they could still circle back to him. It would allow Elijah Molden to play in the slot some more, while the veteran plays beside Amani Hooker. I look at the Titans safety room and I say, if everyone's healthy, it's fine. You have, I think, two starting caliber players in Amani Hooker and Elijah Molden. Now, the idea of playing Molden in the nickel more is fine. I'm going to play Roger McCreary over him. I'm going to play L'Jarius Sneed over Molden. I'm going to play Chidobe Awuzie over Molden. You know, I kind of like Jarvis Brownlee as a day 3 developmental pick. Maybe you get something out of Caleb Farley here. I look at this Titans secondary overall, and I say, okay, you're fine as long as your starters stay healthy. What happens when one of them goes down? What happens in the safety room if somebody gets hurt? Are we throwing Mike Brown out there? You think Shyheim Carter's going to be a starting caliber player? Jackson Ellis? I don't think so. So I do have interest in adding a safety if I were Tennessee. Now, is Justin Simmons the same peak prime best player that he was at his absolute best, who at one point was the highest paid safety in football? No, probably not. Is he still a very good football player? Am I surprised he's unsigned? Absolutely. So if the money's right, and maybe it's not, and maybe Simmons would rather go somewhere where he wants to be a clear-cut, guaranteed start. I still think Philadelphia makes some sense there, plus there's the Vic Fangio connection. But if all those things are answered yes, then sure, do it. Help your roster out. What do you guys think? Would you sign Justin Simmons in free agency? It's the pinned comment on this video, and you should know what that means. Ad might play here on YouTube. Ignore the ad. Head down there and go vote. Y for yes, N for no. I do think another depth piece is needed. Someone that can come in and be a stopgap starter in the event of injury, particularly at safety. So it doesn't actually have to be Simmons. Now, there are other safeties they can pursue, look at, potentially add, etc. But yeah, I would be down to add him. Because I get very anxious about that back end if, knock on wood, Amani Hooker gets hurt or Elijah Molden gets banged up again. I think it's a fine duo to start. It's not a great top 3, though. Speaking of injuries, let's check in latest here on T'Vondre Sweat. Brian Callahan saying that Sweat will be back for training camp. Plenty of time. That's still a month and a half away and change. Maybe back as soon as this week. Remember, the Titans doing things a little bit differently than most teams typically do. They have some more OTAs coming up this week. 10th to the 13th, they'll have some OTA practices in there. Late July is when training camp's going to begin. Now, OTAs won't be available for media the entire time, so maybe you see Sweat out there, maybe not. Maybe he comes back if the 13th one isn't open to the media. Maybe he's back then. We'll see. What I do like on this note, by the way, is what I think is good leadership being shown by J.C. Latham. Talking about Sweat and the injury, he says, this is after Thursday he said this. I called him last night. There's obviously a level of frustration. We're all competitors. We all want to showcase who we are and what we do. We talked about being patient, doing what you have to, and letting it heal naturally. You don't want to force yourself to come back and end up injuring it more. We talk all the time. We're always there for each other. I think he'll be fine. I like that a lot for J.C. Latham. I think that's really good leadership being shown by a young player. Speaking of Latham, you can get his rookie jersey over at chatsports.com/Latham. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. That's chatsports.com/Latham. It is the official Fanatics from Fanatics NFL jersey. Get yours today. Make sure it's here in time, in plenty of time for preseason and beyond. Now, we still don't know what the actual injury is for Sweat. The way Latham talked about it, my mind goes to, this is like a soft tissue. He pulled something. He pulled a quad, a hammy, a calf, or whatever. Hopefully, he is back soon. Because I do think Brian Callahan is 100% right when he says, quote, it's never ideal. You don't want to miss any time if you can help it. There's an adjustment period that the guys go through that you want them to be out and present as much as possible, but there's not much you can do about it. As long as guys are still on top of the mental side, the physical work comes along, and there's plenty of time for that. I think this team pretty clearly is going to start Sweat at nose guard. I see the vision for this Titans defense, right? You got big boys who can stop the run, keep your athletic linebackers clean, like Kenneth Murray, like Cedric Gray, like James Williams. Sweat, I get it's maybe some trauma stuff for me. Burks missed a lot of time in year one. Didn't play very well. Had the asthma stuff he was dealing with, as weird as that was. I'm hoping Sweat is 100% good to go for training camp because it's important. Spend a top 50 pick on him. Got to make an impact in year one. We'll have you guys covered with more on the Titans. So if you haven't already, please subscribe. YouTube.com/Titans today. Quarterback 2 battle is also underway. The Titans allowing Malik Willis and free agent signing Mason Rudolph to compete for the backup job, as per Brian Callahan, saying, quote, "We were both up front with both those guys telling them how it's going to work. So they'll split reps pretty evenly. They'll get a chance to play quite a bit in the preseason. That's usually where it separates is the game action when you really get an evaluation, but happy with where both of those guys are at right now. Just like any competition, there's going to be ups and downs. There'll be days when guys come out and one looks better than the other, and the evaluation is a totality of all their time in the offseason and training camp and the preseason games. So with that in mind, who wins the backup job? W for Malik Willis will end up winning it, or R for Mason Rudolph? Get those predictions in for me in the comments right now. Now, I'll preface this by saying minicamp was open for all media, so we saw all that stuff. Not all the OTAs are open to media, so you only get a snippet of some of the stat tracking that I think is oftentimes overblown. I'll go on a bit of a rant here. We're not going to play, hopefully not this year, the gotcha game with the fake Big J's on Twitter posting all the clips of all the interceptions. It's dumb. You don't know what the down and distance is when it gets tweeted out like that. You don't know what the situation is. It's not like there's a real game with a scoreboard, time on the clock, down and distance stuff. You just don't know. So, pick was thrown. Yeah, was it 1st and 10 or were they practicing 4th and 15? Practicing 4th and 15, you throw a pick. Oh, no, that's fine. You got to make a play. So, that's the preface. The report so far coming out from Titans media has been that Rudolph leads right now. I don't think that would be a huge surprise, if accurate. He's played more. He's been better in the NFL. New offense to adjust to here. But I do think the preseason is going to matter. Not just for who the backup quarterback is in Tennessee, and if quarterback 3 even makes the roster, you could save some money by cutting both these guys, by the way. But also just what their futures are. Like Mason Rudolph has been a career journeyman backup. I guess not journeyman, but career backup in Pittsburgh. He only played for the Steelers there. He got a chance to play this past year with, great completion percentage, no turnovers, and numbers that were very deceptive because they were not asking him to do much, and the defense really carried them. But he drove the bus well in Pittsburgh. And as a backup, sometimes all you need is having that stability, that backup mindset. Because this is not a team that's going to give the job over Will Levis. That's not the plan in Tennessee. The job for Mason Rudolph, if he wins the backup job, is to kind of be the vet mentor guy for Levis. Levis is the focal point. He's the one that has all the youth and talent and everything that they're trying to grow and develop. Rudolph hasn't played very much. And that's okay that he hasn't played a ton. But he's the veteran, stable backup is what they're going for there. Malik Willis, meanwhile, is kind of more of the unknown, right? He hasn't played a ton of real games. When he has played, it hasn't been very good. There's been way too many turnover-worthy plays, way too many mistakes. Stuff has not been consistent, stable. So, and for Rudolph, he'll latch on somewhere, practice squad at minimum. If Willis, who I think ends up being QB3, I don't know if that's going to be on the Titans roster. They might cut or trade him. So, at minimum, you want both those guys to impress because worst case scenario, you got 2 good backups, or you flip one of them for something via a trade.